Hi everyone, Thrive, the HR Club of IIM Nagpur, brings you Chapter 5 of the podcast HR Reflection. I am Arjun, your host, and I have been joined by friends and peers Shivani, Shashank, Rakesh, Tanisha, and Pallav. And the topic for the today's discussion is team dynamics and conflict management. Team dynamics refers to the relationship, interaction, and process within a team that affect how well the team performs. This includes how team members communicate, collaborate, and make decisions together. Good team dynamics are essential for achieving common goals, improving productivity, and enhancing job satisfaction. Conflict is a natural part of any group dynamics, and effective conflict management involves identifying the source of the conflict, communicating openly and honestly with all parties involved, and finding a mutual beneficial solution. Before we begin, could you please introduce yourself? So we'll start from Rakesh.
Hello everyone, this is Rakesh. To have a small introduction about yourself, I have a work ex of 3 years and I worked in companies like Kevin Care, Flipkart and Amazon. This is kind of an interesting topic for me as I have worked with several teams in my companies. I'm looking forward for a great discussion with my friends. Moving on to Shashank.
Hi everyone, this is Shashank. I am from Bengaluru, Karnataka. I have 3 years of work experience from Deloitte, and this topic is something that I see almost on a day-to-day life basis, and some of it I have been guilty of as well. It'll be a nice discussion to hear others' opinion as well and learn. It'll be a nice experience overall.
Hello everyone, I'm Shivani. I have around 3 years of work experience in startup, MNC and with the Department of Education. I've also worked in teams before and I'm looking forward to discussion with all the peers present here.
Hello, my name is Pallav Datta. I'm from Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad. I have around work ex of 5+ years. I have worked in HCL Technologies as software engineer. Then I worked in ICICI Bank as a debt collection manager, and I want to tell you that that job gave me too much insight in the conflict management because I was responsible for collecting loans from the loan defaulters. Then I worked in IIM Ahmedabad as an academic associate, and I am currently pursuing my PhD in OBHR in IIM Nagpur.
Hello, this is Tanisha Singh. I belong to the state of Madhya Pradesh and the city Jabalpur. I have a work experience of 2 years and some months. So the organization that I used to work was a startup and named Walkover, and since it was a startup and they did not have proper guidelines for management of teams and conflicts, so I think I have also had enough insights about it, and I'm looking forward for a great discussion with the team as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys for introducing yourself and hearing your experience. I'm sure that you guys had worked as a team in your workspace and here at IIM Nagpur as well, and there will be a lot to share with us. So my first question for you guys is, can you share a time when you experienced conflict within your team and how it was resolved? So let's start with Tanisha first.
Thanks for the opportunity of giving me the first stand. So I was in the product development team and I was a developer. So there is an issue since it was a new product that we had started working on, and the team was relatively new. People did not know each other much and did not have much dynamics with each other. So there were different times at which people operated. It was some people used to operate in the day shift and some used to operate at the night shift. So what happened was that the people who operated a night shift, if they used to push some code and did not check it. So the people who used to work in the earlier stage of the day would have to check the build and test it, and then their productive hours in the initial part of the day used to get caught up in that, and hence they were very frustrated that the people came in late and they worked till late, but they did not did do the work properly, and they used to collect the bits and pieces. They used to say that we are collecting the bits and pieces of the people who were working late. So that was the case. So what happened was our manager firstly talked to us one-on-one and addressed that what were the issues for the people who were coming late, and what were the issues of the people who were coming early. And then he had a team meeting where he allowed each of us to present the issue that we were following, where we realized that the main issue was one that we did not know the team much, and hence we did not understand the issues that each one of us were facing and did not have a communication about it either. So we realized that we came up with a solution that before pushing any build or before pushing any code, the build will only be sent if all the members or the developers were present at that time, and if in case the people who were staying late, they had to push the build, they had to test it before it was sent to the production. So that is how we resolved the issue. So we realized that it was mere a communication gap between both the parties, since the working hours were not overlapping, and hence yes.
So your conflict issue mainly revolved around the communication part. So anyone who has similar inline can take up the mic. Basically conflict arise due to communication gap or something.
Yeah, I think I have.
Okay, Shivani.
So again, similar instance, a startup. I think the issue with startups majorly is sometimes that the teams are so new, it's very hard for them to come in synergy and work together. So one of the incidents happened where my manager, my team lead, who was responsible for the work that we were doing as in the sales team, had to go on a leave, and because there were lack of resources, in the sense there were lack of team leads in the organization as well, one of the team member was made in charge of the team lead's responsibilities, and that led to a lot of disputes. In the sense, we were trying to understand what let that team member become the replacement for the team lead and not the rest of us, and we felt that it was communication issue, in the sense that we were not told what were the criterias, and we discussed that with the team lead and the manager, post which we received an idea as to how the person had more prior experience compared to us and had been doing better sales. So for a day or two, it would not be that big of a deal, and that is when we all came to resolution. Although they were, although all of us were good friends, sometimes in organizations things like this can impact us, and that's how I think communication, maybe talking to people, helps resolve these kind of issues.
So it's nice to hear these two stories actually. Something I relate to a lot. I think something that people should understand is there's an aspect of conflicts in workplaces that that have some kind of constraints, I would say. That's the right way to put it. Because if I have any conflict at home, I would not hesitate to go and confront it directly, talk to the person straightforward and ask about it. Even if it's with my friend circle, I have that, I find myself comfortable to discuss it amongst friends. But when it comes to work, there's certain, oh my God, I don't know if this is the right thing to do. It's something that many of us have faced. And it all boils down to two things. First one I would say is, as a group, how can a trust be developed? That open communication, how can it be developed? It's very hard to get that in a team, and then there's always attrition. Some people leave, some people replace them, and how will you accept the new members, and how the team works with the new changes. All these things, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but these things have a significant role to play. And what I understand is that it is also the second aspect that I'm talking here is that the leadership where it comes in as managers or as at top level. It is very important for the manager to ensure that his or her team is performing as one unit and not as 10 or 12 individual units. So once that happens, I think most of these conflicts are more easily confronted without having to get escalated. It doesn't have to go the way it goes. Sometimes it's just a bunch of boiled up things just bursting out of the pressure cooker. All these things can be avoided. That's my opinion.
So basically, Shashank talked about that conflict which arises in professional and friend kind of setups are different in nature, and that though we all face the similar issues. So I guess Pallav and Rakesh also have something in the same line. Who wants to go? So, mic on to Pallav.
So hearing all these three stories, my opinion is that conflict as a word is seen as a negative sense, which is the traditional view about the conflict management. So the current paradigm which is in the industry is that conflict is not a negative thing, but it is an oil for the organization to work properly. So the work of the manager, the aim of the manager should not be to restrain the conflicts, just directionalize or channelize those conflicts to a positive outcome. So in my opinion, this key, you are not required to contain or resolve all the conflicts. It depends on the objective of the work. If you are there to get a work done in just 1 or 2 days, go hell with the conflict. Doesn't matter, let the people fight it. You can't help them, you can't make everyone happy, you are not God. So just get the work done out. But if the lifespan of the work is more, if there is something creative you want, creative things can't get out of in a negative or toxic environment. In that scenario, you have to do the actual job. And second thing is, from the more of the humanistic side, the only thing people get in conflict is not because of what they want or what they not want. It is because of their ego. So you have to manage the egos in a conflict management. That's what I have learned in my experience.
Okay, that's something different from what we had. If anyone has contradictory opinion to that, you can chip in, or else we can move to Rakesh's opinion on this.
Similar to thoughts of Pallav, I also think conflict is kind of a growth step, whenever there's a saturation in a team happens. So I would say this, I worked with some high performance teams where there will be no proper guidelines in which we will be projecting to the next level. So there the conflict arises. So people fight for it, they put down their thoughts. They'll be having discussions for days going on, and I think that's a proper step. They will come up with the solutions. So I also kind of see conflict as a it's kind of a threshold where we can get the next level of outputs there. So that's my point based on this thing.
I think that's a very interesting spin that this conversation took. Actually, I agree with Pallav as well as Rakesh. Conflict, many times there's a stigma associated with when someone says the word conflict. You're like, "Arey, we'll have to sit and listen to this." But sometimes what people fail to understand is conflict leads to growth in organizations. So many good marketing or operational or financial ideas have come because of conflicts within a team. Sometimes the entire team can think one thing, and there's this one person who thinks entirely different sense. I think that's one of the movies that one of our movie club in IIM Nagpur had shows, the 12 Angry Men. Very interesting movie where we learnt what if that one person speaks up, and it is a big conflict, 11 on 1, still fine. If you are able to pitch yourself, make your point. It's okay to get shot down. I think that fearlessness should come in everyone. What I feel is, even if you feel you're wrong, it's okay. I've told this to many people, maximum they can say is no. Nothing more. If you present something outrageous, maximum they will say is no. There's no other harm. But if something good is coming out of it according to you and actually happens, the gains are immense that people sometimes fail to see.
I think Shashank has a great point about it. Also, like he mentioned about a lot of movies also show such a kind of conflict. So the categorization of conflicts, like I would put it, would be like if it's a conflict on task, or it's a relationship conflict, or it's a process conflict. So the conflicts that we usually arise that are functional are the ones which are task oriented or process oriented, or the ones that arise in an organization. But if a person has a personal agenda towards a conflict and uses their personal agenda or their personal dynamics with a person in a conflict in an organization, then maybe it is a dysfunctional type of conflict, and that may be not good for the team dynamics as well as for the greater good of the organization.
So conflict can be a good thing as well as bad thing, which we came to know that which is a necessary thing. And also sometimes moving on from a conflict can be a difficult thing also. Even Pallav said that it can help in your work as well. But moving on or keeping that conflict and doing your work can be a difficult task as well. So can you think of an example where you used humor or playfulness or some kind of tool thing which helped you to manage that conflict and go on with your work? So whoever wants to go on first can chip in. Okay, handing to Pallav. Okay.
So generally in organizational settings, what I used to do whenever we were heading towards a hot conversation or something, so I just tell, okay, chalo, okay, let's have a smoke and something. So over tea and smoke, we try or talk about different topics, and then it helps to release out, and then people come back, and then most of the things were resolved. At least they were more happy to listen each others. In like I am or like education, I can't in this like our study groups. What I generally used to do is whenever people start fighting on some topic, I start playing music of my own choice. So then people will start fighting for playing their own genre of music, and rather than fighting on the topic, they will start fighting on the music. And generally music is something which unites people, and things easen up, and then we can get along. That's the tricks I used.
So basically you are telling about entertainment and conversation as a tool to move on from that. And let's hear about Rakesh's opinion on that.
It's a great point, Pallav. We know like humor is a double-edged sword. Like it can affect both ways. So like previously I worked, a similar kind of resolution was given by my immediate manager. Like what happened is like there'll be a lot of conflicts in every week. So in weekend, like the Fun Friday things, like he'll be putting up some memes related to this conflicts. Something like she said this thing, so the company stonks, something like the funny memes used to come place. So what happened is like even though people have this negative opinion on others for 4 days, in the 5th day they would know like it would go to some different track that is very kind of funny. So it kind of reduced the tension like more than 50%, I would say. So that like the next week would start afresh for every people. So I think it's kind of one good method like she followed.
Like Pallav and Rakesh mentioned, I I am thinking about the humorous ways that our organization used. So since I mentioned it, we were a mid-sized organization, so things were carried out more in a semi-formal kind of way. So usually on Saturdays, there were some times where we used to organize Hamari Apni Adalat just as for fun, to cater to the different workplace issues that were cobbling up inside the minds of people, and it was hampering their productivity even. So what happened was, there was a moderator, like there was a person who used to moderate these fights, and they were like not personal conflicts, but some work related conflicts that people used like in a funny or a humorous way, that this person comes late, steals food or something like that, and suddenly they would build on to the a little more complex issues that were also hampering the productivity of the team or the team dynamics. So that was like a fun chit chat adalat or courthouse scenario, where people used to voice their concerns. There was somebody who was being convicted, there was somebody who was doing the conviction, and there was a judge who was randomly selected, not that the team leader was the judge always. So that was a very fun way to handle or cater these conflicts, even though it was not that formal, but I think it brought out the best in the people, and they could openly communicate with each other about a lot of issues, and in a very humorous way. So I agree with Rakesh also that humor can be taken into any account. It can be negatively taken, and hence people can get offended sometimes, but if used in a good way, and if used in a proper way, it can also ease out the relationships between people, and help cater the problem in a less complex way, and help the organization as well.
So a very interesting question. What I personally feel is that when conflicts are happening, people are in an escalated state of mind where they know that there might be a certain end to this, but they're not sure what the end would be. And I believe that having humor at that moment itself would not be appropriate, because you never know what context the person in front of you would take it in, and the chances are most likely that they will take it in the wrong sense, considering both of you are not in the right state of mind when it's conflict. So like how I have tried to go on with conflicts like this is to try to first de-escalate it by talking, and then end it with a humorous, like mostly self-deprecating humor, so that the person feels more comfortable and realizes that it's win-win for both, in case the person was supposed to do something which was not against their will. So something along those lines.
No, I would agree with Shivani on this. Actually, I am a person, if my friends have told this about me, I tend to be too joyous and casual, even in a very serious situation, and it has come out and backfired at me many times severely. And with all that said and done, personally I still feel that humor is very essential, and it is not a reflection of what I feel towards you, or I'm not undermining the other person. I think I'm just saying, let's talk about this, but let's not make this your entire life worth, because what you're thinking about today will not be important to you 10 years, 20, even 5 years down, 1 year sometimes. We'll have a very deep conversation, a big conflict. 1 year down the line, how much of this will you remember? Let's not make it that serious. However, there is one thing that in Deloitte we had a culture of this, at least in my project. We used to play a game called as 1 bad and 2 good. So this would be a way of causing conflict and resolving conflict at the same time, in a very funny way. It used to be in a very informal setting, in a setting which is outside workplace, and we were not allowed to talk about work. It's only about the characteristics of the people involved. So like I was saying, in my Deloitte project we had this thing called one bad and two good. So in a very informal setting outside workplace, when a team used to meet, say even for what Pallav said, a smoke or a coffee or a tea, whatever we were having at that point of time, the manager would make us play this game. It would be in small teams of 5 or 6. Next, every new time it's a different team. So that used to be a way of networking amongst teams. Sometimes a development team, testing team would get merged together. Usually they don't work together, but now they are talking to each other. Tell one bad and two good about a person.
These things which we can relate more with our study group also, right? More or similar kind of thing. I guess our audience can relate a lot with this also. So moving on to my next question, which will be more related to team dynamics, not conflict. Many times some of the members' opinion differ from that of the team and they are reluctant to express their view because of the majority or team leader's opinion. So how do you encourage them to voice their opinion ideas, especially when they differ from those of the majority of the leader? There are cases like one person is right and you need to support them, but the majority will oppose. So how you come across such kind of situation? You can draw inference from your work as well as life here at IIM Nagpur. So who wants to go first?
I can go.
Okay, Shivani.
So I've had personal experiences with a lot of people who have had great ideas but are shy of sharing it with people. Sometimes because it's contradicting, sometimes because they're scared of what people will think. And I believe the only way to go about it is to first encourage them to speak up. And whenever they do, irrelevant of what the point was, I think when everyone is gone, we can just appreciate that the fact that they spoke up, they decided to speak, and whatever improvements or changes could be done. Now, but when it comes to an opinion which is against the team, I understand that why the person would be concerned. But what is important to realize is that these kind of things would lead to better ideas and better synergy between the team, in the sense that, of course, teams would not fight if there's one person standing against. They would also want to understand. There could be a high chance that they would be able to convince the person about their ideas. And what if the person is convincing enough that the team itself shifts to the idea of the person who's choosing not to say much? So there are a lot of variables here, but as individuals of the team, what we could do is, if we feel someone is hesitating to speak, maybe we could encourage. I think before that, maybe be observant about people who are sharing their opinions and who are not sharing their opinions, and then maybe then encourage them. So that is from my end.
I think there are 2 or 3 types of people who keep mum in a social situation. First one, who don't know anything about the context. Second one, who knows or have some views about it, but they don't think that that is worthy to be expressed, because they think it doesn't affect me, why should I share? And third one is the people who know, but they have that social fear too. As a leader or as a manager or in a situation of power, you should be worried about the last 2 categories, because the first one, who doesn't know, doesn't matter, is not going to put something productive in your plan. But the second one, the people who know something but they don't put their points because they think this is not worthy, I think they have some sort of superiority complex, or they think themselves of more proudy than others. They don't think these people are equivalent to me. You should show your power, or you should keep them tracked down to the level of team and make them feel that you are equal to all these of people, so that you are equally responsible for the outcomes, whatever comes on. And the last category, which know thing but they have a social fear, as a manager you should be empathetic to them and support them to speak out. This is my view on this topic.
I think as Pallav mentioned that there are 3 kinds of people in any political or social environment who are hesitant to speak up. Either they don't know, or either they don't consider it as worthy enough to share their opinions, or something like that. They have social anxiety or something. So it kind of it's funny how it reminds me of a scene from Friends, where Chandler is about to approach a girl, and he is very hesitant in approaching her, and Joey is like, what is the worst that could happen? And he replies with a sentence that I could probably die. So it kind of reminds me of that, because that is what the situation comprises of. Like, what is the worst thing that could happen to you if you raise out your opinions? And that is what an employer or a certain person is actually thinking about when they do not want to share their opinions. So I have seen in my organization, and I have observed people, so people with such kind of social anxiety, they have to be dealt in a way that generally the manager or the people in the top leadership positions, they share their own vulnerabilities and how they were in a similar position, and how raising their opinions made them come to a place where actually their voices, like, they have evolved a lot, and their voices matter a lot more in the organization. And especially coming from the manager's perspective, turning off your defense system, even if you think that a person raising their voice, or an employee working under you raising their opinions or voice is incorrect, and what they are raising is not in accordance with what your opinions are. But the more the managers, they turn off their defense system, and the more inclusive they are to others' opinions and thoughts, and that is what creates a culture. Because in studies showed that people, approximately 60 to 65% of people follow the leadership or the top management of the company, and they follow what patterns they have been following. So if people from there are sharing their opinions, their vulnerabilities, and they are respecting the feedbacks of people who are voicing their opinions, will inculcate a culture which would allow the people who are hesitant in voicing their opinions to get involved more, and make a culture in an organization where voicing your opinions is considered a good thing, and is awarded or incentivized in some manner.
So I think for this question, I have a little different opinion. For me, it is more about the environment that you are in. Okay, that's where it all boils down to, what kind of setting that you're in, and how comfortable you feel, right? So when it comes to not expressing your opinion because someone told it, that means there is some kind of a negative I would say negative experience you had with respect to talking out, and that means that somehow this particular organization or a team that you're in has not promoted even the bad ideas. How do you reject bad ideas? When someone says something that is not relevant, how do you accept it? And sometimes it's criticized heavily, sometimes it's just ignored, sometimes the person is belittled a lot, and that kind of experience should not happen. And it doesn't happen to a person who's afraid to pitch the idea. It also is, if you're watching it to happen to someone else, you don't want it to happen to you. So even one instance can be very detrimental in my opinion. With respect to this particular topic, the environment plays a very critical role. Sometimes there are employees who have past experiences in different companies also, who walk into your doors and who are hesitant to express. How would you as an organization help them, tell them that even if it's stupid, talk to me, let's figure it out? I think once that happens, all this will just get resolved easily.
So, hearing out your experience, I am so open with a lot of insights which you guys had provided, and to wrap this up or sum it up, we started with conflict, which can be a good thing also, like Pallav said, and we had a conversation about that. And how you guys manage the conflict around your space, having smoking session to funny memes. Everything is so funny, and like the way Tanisha talked about Joey and Chandler scene. I'm sure that everyone had been a Chandler once or twice, but being a Joey is difficult at that point. Same thing can be carried forward to our office or professional setup also. So this comes to a conclusion of HR Reflection Chapter 5. If there is nothing else to add up, we can conclude this session. Thank you so much for joining us. So this is Arjun signing off from HR Reflection, Thrive HR Club of IM Nagpur. Bye.